All right, let's talk about a quiet revolution that is, right now, probably powering almost every single app on your phone. We're going to go on a journey from these rigid, predictable filing cabinets for data to something way more chaotic, flexible, and honestly, way more powerful. The world of NoSQL, with technologies like MongoDB leading the charge. Okay, so let's start with a little thought experiment. Picture an old school office filing cabinet, the metal ones. Now, I want you to try and file a tweet, a GPS location from your phone, and a viral cat video in it. Where? Where would you even put them? It just doesn't work, right? Well, that feeling, that exact "this doesn't fit here" problem, is what forced a complete and total rethinking of how we store information. And that, right there, brings us to the core of the issue, a moment in time we can call the Great Data Flood. This is the story of why our old systems just slammed into a wall. I mean, just think about your own digital footprint from this morning alone. Every photo you liked, every map you checked, every news article you scrolled past, it all adds up, right? And it's not just simple text anymore. It's this messy, unpredictable flood of different kinds of information. Now multiply that by billions of people, and bam, you've got what we call big data. And this is really the heart of the conflict. On one side, you have the old guard, relational databases. The best way to think about them is like a super rigid spreadsheet. Every column has a name, and you can't just go adding new ones whenever you feel like it. But on the other side, you have the reality of modern data. It's unstructured, it's unpredictable, it's much more like a messy, creative notebook full of doodles and random thoughts. The old system just wasn't built for this new world. So you've got the traditional databases buckling under the pressure, basically screaming for help. The stage was set for a new hero to emerge. This is the story of a completely new kind of database, the rise of NoSQL. Now, the name itself is kind of clever. NoSQL doesn't actually mean no to SQL. What it really stands for is not only SQL. And that little distinction is everything. It's a whole new philosophy for storing data, one that was designed from the ground up to handle the incredible speed and the absolute messiness of modern web apps. To really wrap your head around what makes NoSQL such a big deal, you just need to know about its three core superpowers. These are its secret weapons, the things that allow it to tame that great data flood we were talking about. Superpower number one is flexibility. See, with an old school database, you have to define your entire data structure up front. And if you needed to change it later, oh man, it was a nightmare. NoSQL kind of just shrugs and says, don't worry about it. You can store all different kinds of data right next to each other and change your mind on the fly. Second is scalability. And honestly, this one is a total game changer. The old way was to scale up, which meant you had to buy one single gigantic, incredibly expensive supercomputer. NoSQL does the complete opposite. It's designed to scale out. Think of it like adding more Lego blocks to your creation. You just add more affordable, standard computers to your network. As your data grows, your system just grows right along with it, simply and cheaply. And that brings us to the third superpower, replication. This is all about safety and making sure you don't lose your stuff. Your data gets automatically copied and spread out across lots of different machines in that network. So if one of those machines happens to fail, no big deal. The system keeps running, and your data is totally safe. Okay, so here's the thing. NoSQL isn't just one single thing. It's more like a big family of different databases. Each one has its own personality and its own special strengths. So let's take a quick tour and meet the family. You can just see the diversity right here. First up, you have key value stores, which are lightning fast for things like managing Twitter's timeline. Then you have document stores, which is where MongoDB lives, and they're perfect for things like flexible user data. You've got column-oriented databases, which Spotify uses to figure out what music to recommend to you. And finally, graph databases, which are amazing at understanding relationships, like how Walmart knows what products you might want to buy next. Each one is a specialized tool for a different kind of job. Now, out of that whole family, let's zoom in on what has become by far the most popular type of NoSQL database and its undisputed champion. It's time to put MongoDB in the spotlight. So in the MongoDB world, the fundamental building block is called a document. You can think of it like a super flexible digital folder. It's a set of key value pairs, sure, but this folder can hold literally anything. Text, numbers, lists, and even other documents nested right inside of it.
Yeah, so just completely forget that old spreadsheet with its strict rows and columns. Instead, picture that filing cabinet again. Each file inside is a completely self-contained report that holds all the information related to one single thing, in whatever format makes the most sense. It's just a much more natural way to model things from the real world.
And this, right here, this is the cheat sheet. This is how you translate the old world to the new. What used to be a table is now a collection. A row of data, that's now a document. And a column is simply a field. Once you get this simple mapping, you've pretty much grasped the core idea of how MongoDB organizes information. But the revolution didn't just stop with the technology itself. It also completely changed how we get to use it. This brings us to our final section, data in the cloud and the rise of something called DBaaS. You're going to hear this acronym a lot, DBaaS. It stands for Database as a Service. And really, it's as simple as it sounds. Instead of you having to go out and buy servers, install a bunch of complicated software, and then stress about keeping it all running, you just subscribe to a service. A cloud provider handles all the headaches for you. And the leading example of this for MongoDB is a service called Atlas. It's brilliant, really. It takes all that raw power of a NoSQL document database, wraps it up in a simple-to-use web interface, and makes it available to anyone, anywhere in the world with just a few clicks. All the complexity is hidden. Only the power remains. So why does this matter so much? Because it completely changes the game. There's no expensive hardware to buy, so your startup cost is basically zero. You can launch a global, world-class database in minutes, not months. And you can scale instantly if your app suddenly goes viral. It lets developers focus on what they do best, building amazing applications, not babysitting a bunch of servers. Which brings us all the way back to that name, not only SQL. See, the rise of NoSQL doesn't mean the death of those old relational databases. Not at all. It just means we have more and better tools in our toolbox. And so the big question for the future is, how will we combine all these different tools to build the next generation of amazing applications?